get it started, and then hopefully Gaetano jumps in and we can start to jam. I have one exercise that I was planning, kind of like that maybe we could start with, considering it's mainly like a screen share walkthrough on paid social. I talk a lot about a lot about B2B Facebook ads, but I don't actually show the tactics. And so that was one thing that I wanted to show. And I was hoping that someone from the audience would be able to drop in their like a brief description of an ICP. Ideally, if you're industry specific, like not company firmographic. And I can show you how we go about doing that to kick it off. And then when Gaetano jumps in, then we can get back to the original scheduled programming. So somebody feel free to drop that in. I'm pulling up the screen over here. And then got a couple other things to walk through. Yeah, let's see the chat. Let's get something good here. Independent software vendors, that's not going to work. So here, I'll share my screen. We'll kind of figure this one out on the fly here. Okay, so inside of Facebook, there's an audience builder. You can create an audience, and then you're going to create a saved audience. You can also do this inside of the ad set. And so I typically will create the audiences inside the ad set, but just for the ease, I'm going to show you it in this tool. This creates a saved one. You can use it ad set over ad set. And so let's see what we got in the chat. ICP, Director of Benefits Administration, coffee. We'll try a couple of these. And if we can, I'll kind of fall back on something just so I know. So I'll show you the one that I did back in the day, mainly because I think it'll just illustrate the point and I know, and then we can go into like some more detailed ones. So first off, let's just pretend it's United States. I usually set the bar if it's in B. I mean, you guys decide from an age standpoint. When it's B2B, I'm just going 24 to 64 unless there's something telling me otherwise is typically the scale I'll do. If you go 65 plus, it's going to go all the way up the age limit. So I just want to cut it off at the people that are right before that point. I'm going to go all, in some of these like slices, like men and women, one of the only reasons to segregate would be if the creative or the messaging is specific to that piece. And so people ask me all the time, like, can we just target like New England for this one sales rep? They're struggling. And it's like, unless there's something specific to the ad in New England, you might as well give it to the whole audience because the people in New England are going to see it too. And so then we'll drop in English just to make sure. And then I'll give you like 3 or 4 core ways that definitely work in B2B. So let's just pretend I am going after emergency medicine physicians and respiratory therapists. And so if I'm doing that, then I'm going to start typing in job titles or other things that you might find. And I'm going to find an interest of a journal for emergency medicine physicians. That one's going to work. So I'm going to grab that one. And then I'm going to type in emergency medicine again. And then it's going to give me field of study. Like, so for industry specific or specifically medical, there are a ton of ways to get to the exact people. So there's 2. And now I'm going to just hit suggestions, and it's going to give me all the other things: emergency medicine physician, emergency medicine resident physician. And then you can go, if you wanted to start to expand out, you can get pediatric, resident. And so it really depends on how broad or narrow you want to go from here. So if I was going specifically after emergency medicine, like that would pretty much be it. I could go to employer emergency medicine, and then I'll keep looking through, and then it starts to get into play like specialties where I don't want to be. So now I have this. I'm going to go back up here. If we go in the US, it's 19,000 people. Even though these ones are larger, this is going to give you total users. I think this one only gives you monthly active. I'm not exactly sure on that, so don't quote me. But 19,000, but here's where it starts to get interesting. So I'm missing something. I'm just not sure what it is. So G just texted me, so we'll see where he's at. So we'll just call this test. We'll create it. And then you have your audience. Now it's 19,000 people. In a saved audience, I haven't figured out a way to add on audience expansion. which I talk about a lot, which is basically I let the Facebook algorithm go and find other people that would engage with the content based on the data based on the data of the people that have already clicked through it. Let me just see what Katana said. I'm sorry. I'm on. This is cool. All right, sweet. So now we'll go to one that I don't have any data on, and I'll do it in a different way so you guys can kind of see on the other side how it would go. Ads manager. So here we are. I'll just create a template campaign. Whatever. Okay, so I'm going to go traffic. Lately, when I've been doing traffic, it's always been landing page views, not link clicks. So another interesting insight, I actually started to study, I haven't posted on this yet, I started to study the difference between someone that actually clicks on your link and how many people get to a fully loaded landing page. And the average number is about 65%. And so if you're paying $10 a click on LinkedIn, you're actually paying over $15 because the people that actually get to the page is only 65% of the people that click. So that's something that you guys should continuously check. So we'll go through here. Okay, now we'll start to build. And I don't need much more than this to show you the exercise. And so we'll edit detailed targeting. Someone mentioned coffee shops. Like, let's try that. So here's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start coffee shop. Okay, we have interest. We have an interest of coffee shop on print, coffee shop owner, small business owners. So I might try something a little different here. And this is all like test and figure it out for yourself. What I'll do usually is build like somewhere between 3 and 7 different audiences. If it's clear job title, it's super easy. If you have to do interest targeting, I'll layer interests on top of one another. So like small business owner, and on top of that, it's going to have to be some coffee shop. We're going to have to find something in here. Coffee shop company, like this probably is a tough example. And then I would probably find one more interest. There are other ways. The key after this is like, let's just pretend. So when we layer those interests on, it's only 5,900 people in the US. And then what I would do is I would run that in link clicks, and then I would hit enable audience expansion after I have 1,000 clicks. So after Facebook has the data of 1,000, who are the first 1,000 people that clicked on this and got to our website? After that, I'll let the algorithm start to go and figure out who to get to.
So Chris, just a quick question on that. In LinkedIn, I would always try to avoid audience expansion because it kind of very much dilutes.
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason to use audience expansion on LinkedIn. It's actually
But in Facebook, you
detrimental.
think, in your experience in Facebook, it's working well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So that just gives you a broad stroke of a data point about what you could do. Like there's not always clear-cut ways to get to the people you want. If you're selling MarTech or sales tech, or you're selling to a specific company firmographic, like company size, sometimes it can be hard in Facebook with just the native ads manager. We're testing, like I said last week, we're testing some tools to build custom audiences inside of Facebook. Initial data looks like it's really good. And so if I continue to see that work, I'll start to talk more about it and show that. But now that we got the real host of the show here, Gaetano, let's transition out because I got a couple cool topics to talk on. Hope that was useful to some people. If you have follow-up questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we can either jump back to it or cover it in a later episode. So G, what's up, my man? See if I can get you on. See if I can get you in the host. Let's get it going. We got a.
What's up, man? That was cool. That was cool.
Sweet. Not by the pool today.
Nah, man. I mean, I should be, but
so yeah. I gotta shout it out to you, man. I saw the guitar video on Sunday, and man, that was rad. If anyone didn't see that, tune in. I think it's either on Sunday or Monday. Were you using some type of like voice thing? Because it was like you were hitting notes like crazy.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. So the only thing that was on it was a little bit of channel EQ, a little reverb. That's it. But yeah. raw, clean acoustic guitar and vocals just going right into this Blue Yeti mic right here. That's all you need.
Sweet. Well, we
Yeah,
have
man.
I got a ton of emails and LinkedIn messages, so we probably have a clear roadmap. Where I
Yeah,
want to get
brother.
started today, Matthew asked a question, and it kind of segues because as over the past couple of weeks, I don't know if the LinkedIn algorithm changed or something, but like my posts are going crazy. And what happens when your posts go crazy is actually a lot of people say negative things inside the comments. And so the question I wanted to pose for you to jam on a little bit is like, how do you deal with like negative feedback, negative comments, trolls, disrespectful stuff going in on social and other things like that?
Yeah. There's a lot of it. And I think the initial human reaction. All right, so I've been listening to a lot of like neuroscience podcasts and shit, and like there was this one guy actually on the Joe Rogan episode. He was a neuroscientist that says that the brain is always craving comfort. This will make sense in a second. When it's hot outside, what do? We dress lightly, shorts, tank top. We crave cool. We want to cool down. When we're hungry, what do? We want to eat, right? When it's cold outside, what do? We wear a coat, right? So the brain is always seeking comfort, right? So what is the initial like brain reaction that happens to when we're getting challenged? We want to fight back. We don't like it. We feel like we're being attacked. We feel like we're being called out. And even worse, we feel like we're being shamed publicly in a public forum, someone challenging our expertise, how dare they challenge my life's work? I do Facebook ads every day for 8 hours a day. Who the fuck are you to challenge my shit? Right. Who is this person? Right. And then our first reaction is, oh, I got to light them up. But if you walk away for 10 minutes and then you come back, something fascinating happens. You don't want to fight this person anymore. It's the same thing as when you're like, craving a bad food and you're on a diet, and you really want some chocolate. If you stop thinking about it for 10 minutes, suddenly your brain doesn't want that chocolate anymore. It gets distracted. It went into a different course. Now suddenly that chocolate is no longer as appealing. So our brain wants immediacy. So what I've learned to do is actually pause when that happens to me and come back to it in 10 minutes. And suddenly what I realize is this person ain't worth it. Most of the time, they're just not worth it. And what ends up happening is if you fight back, is then you start to look like a weak-minded person because you gave in to the trap. And not only that, you gave them attention that they don't deserve. It amplifies into their network. All they want is attention. And you're giving them free, algorithmically fueled visibility, which you don't want to do. So what I encourage everybody to do the next time you get trolled on LinkedIn is to pause, wait 10 minutes, go back to it, and then see how you feel. And if you still feel like want to rip this person's head off, what you should probably just do is delete that comment. Don't give them a satisfaction. Now, if it's a respectful challenge, then I think it's cool to have some debate on it, but it should be constructive and positive. So the thing that comes to mind is politics, Politics aside, like if you have an extreme right-wing Trump promoter and then on the left side you have an extreme, liberal Democrat, like are you ever going to get these people to be able to see eye to eye? No way. But the sad thing is, will you ever be able to get these two people in a room and have a discussion on why their points of view are different and have that happen in a constructive and positive way? Even that's becoming really tough because social media algorithms now have become this systemized environment of eating your own dog food. The algorithms tend to only show you people who think like you and agree with you. And you tend to align with those people. So I think it's important to allow some of that, conflict to occur, but it should be constructive and meaningful and not just, oh, this person thinks differently, fuck them. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. And the final point for everyone is if you're starting to grow a personal brand, like Chris is you're an animal on LinkedIn. Like, I don't even know how you did. Your content game is nuts. Like you're starting to get Gary V level. Like you're putting all these wannabes to shame and I love it. It's fucking awesome. The reason why I haven't been as active on LinkedIn is because it's really hard to keep up with all this shit.
It really is.
It really is like almost a full-time job in itself. And, I have some side projects. I'm full-time with Nextiva. Like, it's just a lot of shit to manage. I manage like a pretty big team. So, sometimes my LinkedIn activity peaks and it valleys, but ultimately, the final point is that as you become more visible, more scrutiny happens and more people look to challenge you and fuck with you. And you got to just be able to deflect it and have a strong mind. And I think, Chris, you're someone that does a really good job with that. I've seen you getting trolled quite a bit, over as you become more visible, that's just what's going to happen. So that's my take on whether or not you should give a troll the time of day and how you should approach it.
Yeah, that was a very robust answer, more than I expected, actually. I just absorb it and then try and imagine what it's like to be that person. And then usually just like send a joking comment back. I don't know. Like, I just don't take it very seriously. But at the beginning, I took a lot of, it hurt. You know what I mean? Like, I felt it. And sometimes it affects me less now.
Yeah. You want to laugh, by the way? I think this is funny. I'll make this like 30 seconds.
Okay.
So I posted a video of me playing a song in Spanish on Sunday. And my native language is not Spanish. I'm Italian, and my parents are from Naples, and I grew up speaking Italian when I was a kid to my parents and my grandparents. So it is easier for me to learn Spanish, but it's not my native language. Somebody, after all that, like I had to grow the courage to post a song of me playing a song in Spanish on LinkedIn, which in itself is very like it's you don't know what's gonna happen. Like, I was like, damn, am I gonna look like an idiot? Are people gonna laugh at me? It's LinkedIn. Who is this guy playing guitar and playing music on LinkedIn? This makes no sense. This should be on Facebook. Blah blah blah. One person hit me up and said, "Oh, at the 37-second mark in your song, you made the incorrect pronunciation of a Spanish word, and it threw me off because I'm a native Spanish speaker from Spain." Sorry, dude. Don't know what to tell you. You ain't paying me. You ain't cutting me a check. It ain't that serious, bro. This shit is just LinkedIn on a Sunday night. I don't know what to tell you. Sorry. Have a good day.
Let's get into the demand gen game. We got a lot. I see the questions building up here. Thank you. We got a lot to cover. So the last thing on the agenda, which we'll hit, and then we'll kind of move to the more open format, is how do you think that companies or marketers or whoever should, what type of mix between inbound and outbound pipeline and revenue flow should companies seek? And obviously the answer is it depends, but like talk us through how you would go about trying to figure that out.
Oh man, I feel like I don't want to rant too much on this because like I could go on really far, but maybe I'll just open things. It's complex. It really is. The classic consultant answer, it depends. I think you nailed it with that, Chris, to start off. What I would say is, I'll use Nextiva as an example. We have so much opportunity with inbound, and everything works so good with inbound that we're not going to really prioritize outbound until we feel ourselves plateauing. We're sticking to what we're good at. We're sticking to what's working, and we're sticking to what's driving the real growth of the business. And could we right now pivot and say, you know what, we want to start scaling outbound? Yes, we could do that. But we just instinctively feel like it may distract from like the current roadmap of inbound optimization, which we still know there's a lot of room for growth. Like,
how do you know about the room? Like,
yeah.
How do you know when that plateau is going to happen?
Yeah. So we basically look at a couple of things. We look at search volumes and the amount of search volume traffic that we can capture. That's what's available, what's out there, and how much of it are we capturing. And we still know there's a lot of it out there up for grabs. So we don't feel like we've plateaued there yet. And then also at a certain point, you start looking at your cost of acquisition over time. And you start to realize, like, you know what, let's do an experiment where we dump another 100K into spend this month and see what that brings. And the results may be marginal on that. And then once you start realizing, okay, we're spending like a really high amount, cost of acquisition is just getting too high. The payback periods are getting too long, right? You feel like you've made enough fine tuning to the sales engine at this point. You just start, and then you think about the avenues and the channels that could drive inbound demand. So things like SEO, affiliates, referral traffic, review sites, Facebook, LinkedIn. Then you start looking inward more at, okay, how much, pipeline that was closed lost could we potentially reactivate and bring back? How many contacts are sitting in that not ready to purchase queue? They said 6 months ago they might be ready to buy. Maybe we should start talking to them again. Is that pipeline bucket getting fatter, or that sales stage getting fatter over time or leaner? You start looking at all these things and you start to just realize at one point, like, okay, I think we're getting close to a point of plateau here. Like, in order to really hit bigger deal sizes and bring them in more consistently, we need to go upstream, and we're not going to really be able to do that inbound, because inbound, you only get so much at a certain lead size. So that's how I would start to think about it. But I don't want to rant too much. I'll pause there and let you share some thoughts, Chris. I'm sure your brain is moving pretty fast.
Yeah. So, I mean, to just like kind of narrow the conversation, let's look at things that are not self-serve or freemium. Let's look at things like 6K to 100K CV. That's where I typically play. So not super enterprise, not super transactional. And in those types of companies, I think that you should have somewhere between 50 and 75% of your revenue coming from inbound. I think that's a good target. Maybe I like to say 65%. But it also depends on how much budget you're allocating between the two things. If you're spending 95% of your budget on sales, then I don't think you should expect to have 65% of your revenue coming from marketing or inbound, however you want to position it. I like calling it inbound, by the way. This is a side note. I like calling it inbound versus outbound because it reflects on what the buyer is doing, not on who's taking credit internally. It kind of like I've found it separates the clash between attribution things between, oh, that came from sales, or this came from marketing, or that came from this channel, or this, just like they came in or we went to them. And so anyway, I'm thinking that I like to say 65%. And if that's the amount of revenue coming inbound, then typically your pipeline should be lower because your funnel conversion metrics should be better on inbound. So you should have actually a bigger proportion of the pipeline coming from outbound, because you'll typically see lower conversion rates through the funnel. That's just like a back of the napkin type of look for a specific set of companies, but that's a couple ways I think about it.
I think it's a really good way of looking at it. I mean, I know that we secret shop our competitors. I would encourage everyone to go and do that. Whoever your competitors are, go secret shop them, and secret shop them repeatedly. And each time you do it, say that you're a different company size and see how they treat you. That's a golden nugget for today. So do it one way and tell them, yeah, I'm a 5-seater mom and pop shop, out of Kansas City, Missouri. We're doing this and that and the other thing. And then you call back maybe under a different alias, different Google Voice number, and you say, yeah, I'm part of this company. We're Series C venture funded out of San Francisco. We're about 40 million ARR. See how they treat you then, right? Capture all the emails they send you, record how many times they call you. And then from there, you'll start to get a sense of like, how does this company treat small versus large, right? Is it a more tailored VIP experience? Or is it, if you're small ball, do they just basically deflect you to some sort of self-service option? And you'll get to see how companies manage deal sizes that are coming inbound that way.
Right on. There's a couple short questions. Julian had a follow-up on the targeting, and then we got a couple questions that came in through email. So Julian, the question is, what's your take on building a list of people and then uploading them to Facebook as in a custom audience is what Facebook calls that. You can do it through a CSV. Marketing automation platforms like HubSpot have a direct integration, so you can build a list inside of HubSpot and have that dynamically push to Facebook for whatever you want to do. So they look at the pricing page, and then you can custom target them on HubSpot. The challenge is that the match rates, depending on what email address you have, the match rates can be very low. And so if you have a list of 5,000 people, but you have mostly business emails, you have personal emails or old emails or things like that, like you might only get 900 people matched, and the minimum that you need to build an audience is 1,000. And even when you have 1,000, like Facebook is a scale platform. Like you want big audiences, in my view, because of how inexpensive it is, and you want to run the content machine over and over. So I like audiences that are somewhere between 25 and 150,000, and then it just churns through. So that's just like my take. Can you do it? Yes, that's like what in technically that's how the platform metadata that we're testing right now works. Like they'll build custom audiences based on matching databases and then push it into to Facebook, but you don't need to own the data. And so that's how we're getting our best targeting on Facebook right now. But if you had to go and buy the list every time, it would not be financially feasible to do it that way. Got anything? Or you want me to just keep on trucking?
No, I mean, I'll just tell you, I've been experimenting with my own Facebook and Instagram ads lately for my music videos.
Nice.
How's it going? It's been interesting. I've been running. So I have a video of me doing a Italian trap collaboration with a Latino reggaeton artist, and the song is half Italian, half Spanish. So we've been running ads in Italy, and then also in Spanish-speaking countries.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that it just was kind of a wake-up call was, if you're not already famous, so this goes back to the idea of brand, like branding. So when you run ads, if they don't know your brand, they're going to hate on you. Like a lot of the comments were like, who are these two clowns? Who is this guy? He thinks he's famous.
Yeah. Facebook ads in general, by nature of the platform and how many people are on there, you should expect negative spam comments on Facebook. It's just the nature of the platform. It's just the nature of the platform. Totally. But it also was a wake up call in terms of like, you see a lot of these quote unquote influencer people saying that if you're a musician and you're not using Facebook ads and Instagram ads, that you're out of your mind. I don't agree with that, actually.
I don't either. And this is proof, because you can't buy your way into becoming a household name brand. You can't do it. You can't buy your way into growing a fan base as a musician. So therefore, if you're an unknown B2B company, you cannot buy your way into becoming a successful tech brand. It just doesn't work. And I think this is a really crucial point to hit on, because you see the gurus telling you, I can create, click funnels for you and all this stuff, and you'll get crazy, lead gen and all this shit. But it's like getting back to the fundamentals of like the brand, and it takes a lot of time before you can start, becoming like a Wix.com or a Monday.com or a Grammarly. The reason why they're successful with their brand ads is because their brands are already known. So Chris, I don't know if you have anything to riff off there, but I think it's an interesting point.
I mean, I think that there were ways, like if I was going to use Instagram, and we're going to go on a tangent, we're going to get back to B2B, I swear. But if I was going to run Instagram ads for like a musician, I would have done it 7 years ago, and the goal would be to get people into the platform where there's a lot of organic reach. And that doesn't really play in either of those platforms anymore, but the goal would be to get exposure and drive followers. And then once they're in the follower, it's basically like collecting someone's email, right? Like another thing that I'm thinking about right now is like people are so caught up in, let me gate this ebook so I can send them emails. And it's like, if they just followed you on LinkedIn, you would have the exact same effect, but you'd probably have more of their attention than email. It's the exact same thing.
Oh yeah, dude, I love that. I mean, what you just said is crucial, because think about it. People in their email inboxes now, the number one goal is to delete as much shit as possible and to delete it as fast as possible.
It seriously is.
Literally.
No one said that before, but it's so true.
It's so basic.
I've never heard someone say that.
The first thing I do when I wake up in the morning, after I collect myself, I get into that inbox. How fast can I delete shit, and how much of it can I delete? Literally.
Right. And it's not even worth unsubscribing anymore unless they make it super easy. It's just easier to just keep deleting it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Cool.
So there you go.
So speaking of email, Julian's got a question. Julian, you want to drop the cold email list, or otherwise I can read it off?
Yeah, I can ask it. So one thing that we've had success with, so we're an agency, a marketing agency, and we've also tried this for some of our customers or some of our clients who are in the manufacturing industry. So what we do is we'll just build a list of their contacts in their ICP, and we'll just send them helpful content, no ask, every week. And it's worked well for us, but I wonder how that works for SaaS, or whether or not you've tried it.
So the first time I tried this was in 2016, with the exact same play that you just called out. I had Zoom info. I had a bunch of credits. I downloaded people that were directors of respiratory therapy. But the thing that I wanted to accomplish with that was I sent them a survey through Qualtrics. So it didn't come through the brand. And I sent it to 10,000 people for market research, and I collected that. But over time, I started to send promotional emails as well. And I think it can work well. I think it's an expensive kind of like approach. But I think it could, I mean, it's clearly working for you. I've seen it work. It probably wouldn't be my number one move.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you lose it, if you do it for pretty long, like let's say you're paying like $1.50 per contact, and you use the contact for 2 years. I mean, it's a pretty cheap way to reach people. Like,
Have these people opted in any way?
What's that?
Have these people opted in any way?
No.
Then you might want to be careful about the canned spam rules.
I mean, as long as you're not sending anything sketchy, and as long as there's a room to unsubscribe and you respect that, you're good on canned spam. But yes, I understand that's a concern.
Gee, what you got on the effectiveness of this?
Straight up, Julian, I'm sorry to tell you, brother, it's not effective. I'm just sorry to tell you, it's just not effective. And it's not effective because here's the deal. In social media, when you're scrolling your feed and you see something that is not relevant to you, or that you didn't want to see, or that you didn't ask for, what can you do? You just keep going. Right? With email, when something that you didn't ask for from someone you don't know just starts showing up in your inbox, you can't just scroll past it. You have to deal with it somehow. And the way that people deal with that, even if it is relevant, it's like, dropping a dart, throwing a dart, seeing if you can hit a bullseye. Even if you do hit on relevance, because they don't know you, and, it feels like it's interruptive and intrusive. Like, I didn't, submit for this kind of information or this kind of message to hit me. It feels like I'm being marketed to, and I don't like that. It's the same reason why when people are, watching TV, they record their favorite episodes, and then they fast forward through the commercials on the TiVo or whatever it is. That's mad old school.
Whatever the kids are doing now.
Yeah,
TiVo.
That's mad old school. TiVo, or whatever the kids are doing. Yeah. I just watch Netflix now and shit. But, at the end of the day, what I would think about is, how do you actually build an email list that people want to be on and that they want to engage with? So I would suggest you go and do two things. You go and subscribe to Ahrefs email list, the SEO website. And I would suggest you go and subscribe to Brian Dean from Backlinko's email list. Now, these are both SEO websites. One sells a software, the other one sells courses, but they have the best email marketing in the game. And it's because they do what Chris said, but they do it to people who asked for it. So when you sign up for their list, they send you one value out a week, and they never ask for anything. Never. Like, I've been on Ahrefs email list for like 5 years. It's the only email newsletter, and Brian Dean, it's the only email newsletters that I've been on for 5 years straight, because I know what I'm going to get every week. It's always value. And I may never buy a course from Brian Dean. I already know SEO really well. I may never buy a course from him, But you know what I do when people ask me, hey, do you know of any good SEO courses? Oh yeah, go to Backlinko, go to Brian Dean. So shit that he can,
this is a huge important point for B2B marketers.
yeah,
It's
huge
called
important
brand.
point.
Yeah.
Yes, because guess what? Brian Dean can never track how many people I tell, yeah, go. He can't track that.
Exactly.
He can never track that. There's no click-through rate button. There's no open rate metric. There's no fucking email metric that he'll ever be able to see that he's going to be able to know that, oh yes, Gaetano from Nextiva told 5 people about this and they bought the courses, and let me give him his.
Or Gaetano said this on Demand Gen Live, and then some random person sees it in YouTube 9 months later, and then they buy the course.
Literally. Yeah. So, you know, these guys understand how the game works, and they were so far ahead of their time because they were doing this shit back in like 2015, 2014. So when, you know, Neil Patel and them are doing ClickFunnels, they said, you know what, I'm not going to do ClickFunnels. I'm just going to do great content marketing, build an email list, and I'm going to just send value every week for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm. This segues nicely into Matthew's question. It was a follow-up for not the troll part, but the what was it? The direct response conversion path, which I think is interesting, and G will have some value to add on that too. Go ahead, Matthew. Let's see if you can.
Oh man, I'm not sure I can articulate the question. I kind of forgot how to word it, but it really had to do with like kids kind of in the background.
That's all right. No worries, man.
But yeah, you tested the gated ebook versus the non-gated ebook, and then I kind of asked how you were measuring sort of the demo request or like that conversion that led to sale. And you said it wasn't direct response. There was like other ways to measure it. So I was wondering kind of how you go about measuring that response, the thing that you want to measure that matters.
Yeah, so I'll answer specifically to you, and I'll add some context for the audience. Then Gaetano can answer more on a broad level. And so basically what we do with a lot of awareness-based campaigns is that we don't expect a conversion because it's an awareness-based campaign. And so a campaign, we drive a case study ungated, people read it. Normally after they read it, they leave. And just like what we talked about before, maybe they leave, they go, and then in the next meeting, after the meeting, they go and find Susie and say, hey, Susie, I saw this. It looked pretty cool for our company. Could you go check it out? And then Susie goes and looks at it and she says, oh, now's not the right time. And then 3 months later, she comes back and converts, and they give credit to paid search. And so the point is that when I'm measuring these things, I'm looking at the baseline sales conversion metrics. So if last month, blah, 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 XYZ company had 30 demo requests, then I'm going to run the campaigns, and then I'm going to track the demo requests the next month and the month after that and the month after that. And I'm going to see the trends. That's the first leading metric that I care about. After that, I'm going to track qualified pipeline from those opportunities based on the create date of the opportunity. And then I'm going to look at from that, the actual revenue created off of them. That's how I look at it. So like, are we going to be able to map it back out and be like, these 20 people read this piece of content? No, we're not, for a lot of different reasons. And that's why most marketers don't market the way that I do, which is fine, because the less that they spend doing things like this, the more effective it's going to be for me. And so I'm not sure that was like the cleanest cut answer, but I look at the business level metrics to tell me that it's working. And then I look at the channel level metrics, which are cost per click, cost per landing page view, scroll depth, time on page, to know, and then to layer it on with targeting to know I'm getting the right people and they're consuming the content. And then I look at the business metrics from there. And so it's a tough one for a lot of marketers to get over, because if they put $1 in, they want to know they got a lead out. But instead of measuring at the lead level, I measure at like the lead level at the from the demo request. And so my cost per lead is going to be higher, but the conversion rates through the funnel are going to also be much higher. And I'm okay with paying $1,000 a lead and seeing a 10% conversion rate versus paying $50 per lead and having a 0.1% conversion rate, because the customer acquisition cost in my model is actually 80% lower. What you got, G? That was deep, but maybe
Yeah, I mean,
on a broad level.
I mean, not much more to add. I think you nailed that one.
Cool.
Don't really have much else. I think that was great.
Right on. Okay, we can jump here. Dasha, we'll hit up your question. Then we got to get in this chat. It's blowing up. Is she on? Yes, she is. Hey, how are you? I know it's late for you, I think.
Hi, I'm good. Sorry, I missed a couple of last meetings I'm really sad about, but I figured you guys have a lot of experience or can shed some light on the referral programs and what success you've seen in them, specifically in terms of does it make sense? So there's kind of two models. One is to where you tell, okay, if you refer somebody, you get something from us, something small, versus if you refer somebody and they sign up, then you get something bigger. So which model of those two work better and for what reasons? And also when you provide these incentives with the referral programs, is it better to go personal incentive versus business incentive? And maybe some good suggestions on what good incentives could be aside from like a t-shirt, mug, pen, whatever, BS that people don't care about.
This one's all you, G.
Oh man, this is a doozy and a half. So I think I want to get the question right. It's basically how do you approach
incentivize referrals?
How do you incentivize referrals? The answer is money. Straight up. Now it's different I think in every industry. Like, the way you have to really test this and figure out what works with your audience. I don't know if there's a one size fits all blanket answer, but for Nextiva, for example, we sell business phone systems, and the things that our audience really likes are things like free VoIP phone giveaways, a credit on your next statement. These kinds of incentives are things that are really, really interesting to the audience. Now, if we said, refer us, a line of business and you get a Starbucks gift card, they may not go for that. If you raise the stakes and you say, refer us a line of business in the month of July and you get an iPad, oh, okay. Now, I was listening to Kevin Hart, his interview on Joe Rogan's podcast, and it was brilliant. I think the way he broke things down and how he invests are the same ways we should think about how to incentivize customers to refer business to us. I'll give you an example. He was having a discussion with his kids about what to invest in. His kids. And he said, hey guys, kids, what companies do you guys use every day? What do we use all the time? What are the things that we use in our regular everyday life? And his son said, well, Dad, we go to Starbucks every morning. Yeah, we do go to Starbucks every morning. Yeah. A lot of people love Starbucks, right, guys? And they're like, yeah, we love Starbucks. Do you guys think a lot of other companies and people like Starbucks too? Yeah, people love Starbucks. Do you notice that before coronavirus, it was always packed? And in New York, like there's always a line? Like, yeah. And so do you think Starbucks is going to be around for a while? Yeah, definitely. Let's invest in Starbucks. Target. Oh yeah, we go to Target all the time. Yeah. Is it always packed? Yeah. Does it always have a line? Yeah. Oh, let's invest in Target. Right. So that's this kind of the same thought process I would take around like if you put yourself in a customer's shoes, what would you want? Like what would be appealing to you? Would an iPad be cool? Yeah. Would a free VoIP phone, if you're a company that sells VoIP systems, be cool? Definitely. A new conference phone giveaway, the hottest, best HD audio quality conference phone. Like, so these are all the ways that I would start to think about it. Ultimately, there's no right and wrong answer.
Would you incentivize on the lead or on the sale? Like when does the person get the prize, quote unquote? Yeah.
So I think it's just on the opportunity.
Okay.
And it's got to be a legit opportunity. I don't think you can say, hey, I've made an introduction to this company and it didn't work out because for whatever reason, there was a feature gap that wasn't solvable. And now you're ineligible for this reward. So I would also sync with your legal team on it. If you have a legal team, they're really, I know that sounds scary, but they're the ones that you're going to want to, hit up for this kind of stuff. But and long story short, you got to just figure it out and test, because every audience is different, every person's different, and that's just how it goes.
Okay. Yeah. My main concern was the cost per lead, because the initial idea was going kind of bigger. And, my belief in their product was that it's good enough to where once we get them to the demo, they convert. And I'm finding out that it might not be the case. And the customers that we did get weren't necessarily a high conversion rate. So I don't want to be paying $250 for lead. If somebody, if one customer gets us 5 leads, that's 250 times 5 that we have to pay, and then none of it pans out. That's not going to look very good.
So this is just me personally. Like, I wouldn't be, unless I recommend the product based on how much value it gives me, not because there's an incentive to recommend it, if that makes sense. And so like, I think and I'm not sure how many people feel that way too, but I think the core thing is like, is the product providing the value? Because if it is, and the people probably will tell other people about it. The other one that I think about in referral programs, because I've seen the same thing. They put a HubSpot form up, and the person puts in their email address, and they put in 10 other people's email address to recommend. And I just think it's messy. So I think unless it's like a direct affiliate link that you can track to revenue, whether it's in self-serve on acquisition or upon payment or however, like that's really the only way that I would do it. Because I just think that your time would be better spent elsewhere. I actually think that you would just get better results doing other things.
Yeah, the product is actually very, for those people who need it, it's really good.
How much does the product cost, if you don't mind?
A lot. It's essentially a workflow automation software for test labs. And it could run anywhere from $25K. I think metal price is $50K. It's a perpetual license, and then they move into support model.
Okay. I mean, with that being said, an Apple Watch giveaway or iPad giveaway is not going to necessarily kill you. Because, you invest $1,000 in iPads. What's that? They're like $250 a pop. You get 4 of them. You go to your top 4 happiest customers and say, hey, you know what? Do you guys have anybody you can refer us to? We want to just give you an iPad, by the way, just because we love you so much. No strings attached, but right. Like,
right.
Like that could be a good move.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think it's just an interesting deviation here is just to talk about, because I think a lot of companies just don't understand especially SaaS companies. SaaS companies understand it. Companies in other industries don't, is the idea of what the bar should be for how much it should cost you from a marketing standpoint to even acquire a customer. And so like I talk to companies and they're selling a $50,000 a year product and they're spending $3,000 a month on ads. And if you just net it out to a high growth company, you should have a 6-month CAC payback from a marketing standpoint. And it's going to take you 6 months to get a customer if you're doing it on a paid standpoint. So I don't know, G, if you have any color to add, but I do think that's really interesting is understanding how much it costs you to acquire a customer before you build your budget and your goals.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, you should have a threshold. There is a such thing as negative revenue too.
Yeah.
This kind of this is spiraling me down. I'm trying not to go down too deep of a rabbit hole, but like in terms of negative revenue, it may be the case that you overspend to acquire a certain type of customer just because having that logo on your website is going to mean so much. Like imagine if you take a loss on acquiring Apple as a customer. You know what that does for the long-term existence of your company to say Apple is a customer, and you put that on every landing page and you get a quote from Steve Wozniak or whoever it is. It's the value of that is ridiculous, right? So, I guess it all depends, but this also makes me think about like sales activities per lead type as well. So just because you have to know how much it is to acquire a customer and the type of customer and how much you're willing to spend to acquire a customer, you should also know on the sales side, what is the right appropriate level of sales activity per lead type. So for example, if you have like really small lead types that come in, like let's say you know the distribution of your lead sizes, and you say, you know, we know that 30% of all leads that come in are worth about, you know, 5 line sizes. Let's say you're a CRM company and you sell by seat, and you know that the majority of your leads that come in are like under 10 lines. Like let's say 50% are under 10 lines. You should know what kind of sales effort it takes to work 10 line opportunities and when to give up. You should have data that says, you know what, from a 10 line lead standpoint, from the date that lead gets created, we know on average how long it takes to work and get a quote or a proposal out to those leads. And we should know based on that when to actually send it back to demand gen for email marketing or other things. But what you don't want to do is, you know, be this chicken, you know, with your head cut off from a sales standpoint, treating 100 seat size opportunities the same as 10 seat size opportunities. You want to definitely cater a different experience to those. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is by understanding what the data says.
Cool. And in the interest of time, I think we have a lot of questions, so we might just go into lightning round. So Amber's got a question here. What's the best inbound strategy you'd recommend for products under 3,000 pounds? Is Facebook still feasible to run? Just a side note here, I've been doing some math in my head, and I've also been doing a lot of experimentation. My belief right now is that if your product does not cost $20,000 a year, you should not be running LinkedIn ads. And so like, if it's not that high, like if you're selling a $5,000 a month or a year product, like LinkedIn ads is going to be negative revenue, or your CAC payback is going to be 3+ years. Cool. So just to dive into here, I mean, could Facebook ads work if it's like based on acquisition? Like if you can do direct response into a freemium model and you have good product led, then yes, it can work. If it needs to go through a sales process with an in-person touch, I don't think so. So I mean, Gaetano is going to recommend this too, but I would recommend a LinkedIn organic and an SEO strategy. Maybe, I mean, even 3K, I don't think AdWords can work.
Yeah. I mean, Chris, you nailed it. Nothing more to add.
Cool. We got we got one here. How important are backlinks currently to SEO rankings, and what are some ways to help generate backlinks? It's a good one for you. I'll let you jam while I look for questions.
That's a great one. So the short answer is very important. Very important. I have never seen any website rank for any commercial term without backlinks. You just can't do it. It doesn't happen. And the way that I go about building backlinks is actually, this is where the intersection, Chris, you're going to like this. This is where the intersection of brand and PR and top of funnel actually help with like bottom of funnel SEO. So here's a great example. If you have a good or decently known personal brand, you can pitch yourself to go on podcast interviews, to be a guest on people's podcasts. And guess what happens when those podcast interviews are done? Well, they export the audio file. They create a little blog post page about the summary of that interview with the recording in that page. And guess what else they do? They have your bio with links to your company website, and they mention you, and there's a little blurb about your company. And in that, you can request them to link to any page you want. So if you're trying to build backlinks toward a specific page, which is what you should be doing, I think building backlinks to the homepage is like a naturally occurring activity, and you shouldn't spend time building backlinks to a homepage because that's just going to happen automatically. But let's say you have a specific page, like a feature page, for example, like, if you're a CRM company, you probably have a feature page that talks about your mobile app, and you want to rank for like, mobile CRM. In all those podcast interviews, you can have them linked to your mobile CRM page. You could say, this interview was done with blah, blah, blah person who works at Pipedrive, a CRM company that sells mobile CRM applications, and an anchor text link to the mobile CRM page from there. And you can repeat that over and over again, get interviewed on as many podcasts as possible. Then you can share all that content, turn it into a LinkedIn organic content engine, like Chris has done. You know, he's got a LinkedIn content farm going, which just, you know, it's got so much momentum now that it's impossible to break that momentum because it's a snowball effect that just keeps going down the hill. And I'm sure Chris's DMs are blowing up with, you know, collaboration opportunities, probably people who want to do business with him. So you get a double value out of that by going on podcasts, because you can get backlinks and you get the content marketing that comes with it as well. But basically, to summarize this, backlinking comes down to street credibility.
Do you ever use a service like the Hoff, Gaetano?
No, never. I never use any services. I literally just hit up my homies. I build great relationships with people and I say, hey man, or hey woman, I've done a lot of favors for you throughout the years, and now I need to cash in on a favor in return, and I need you to backlink to this page because I need to rank for this term. And they do it. And they do it just because I've given so many deposits over time and I've done so many favors. And people hit me up still to this day for free advice. They're like, hey man, I'm in this demand gen problem. I would love to pick your brain for 30 minutes. And then I look at their website and I check out their domain authority. And I'm like, domain authority is pretty good. Getting a juicy fat backlink out of this is definitely going to be worth my time to give them some free advice. So I give them some free advice, and then I say, oh, I'll give you the free advice, but I also need like 5 backlinks in return. Oh yeah, sure, done. Yeah, no problem. Backlinks for you to teach me how to get out of this problem I'm having, so worth it. And that's how I go about getting links. That's it. So I know it's the unconventional answer, but that's how I do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we got a second question here, which I think it will be interesting for a lot of people. It was also on the agenda, and we kind of like slid by it. So we'll kind of get back to it. So many marketing teams use demo requests, MQLs, SALs, SQLs. These aim to measure handoff points and progressions to establish ratios for benchmarking and predictability. We know MQLs suck. How do we break marketers from their MQL habit? It would help to have a replacement for management to provide cost justification. Do you use any alternative measures to show progressions and to establish ratios for some benchmarking and predictability within a company? If so, which measures? So the real answer is we need to still measure everything. It's just what things we prioritize and report to management as important. And so a nice benchmark that I like to use for companies when I go in, when they tell me they're getting 3,000 MQLs a month and they're paying $200 a lead and they think it's great, is what I'll say is, what is your cost per qualified opportunity? And so qualified opportunity has been demo sat. And that usually normalizes for all the junk that's being created there. So cost per qualified opportunity, demo sat, is a nice little kicker in the middle, which will actually show you how good those MQLs really are. And then the next thing that I'll ask, which will really expose the problem, because actually a lot of people will sit on a demo and have no interest in buying stuff, believe it or not, is I'll ask, what is your customer acquisition cost for those channels that we're measuring? And that is the ultimate measure. And then you can back in from there. But those are the 2 points that I measure to help show marketers that lead volume is not the answer. That it is, are they getting to a point in the sales process where we have invested a lot of time from a sales standpoint? Have we been on a demo? Have we submitted a proposal? You guys decide what the best point is, but there's got to be a key piece in the process where after this piece of the process is done, we should have good predictability on our win rates. And the second piece is just on revenue. Like those are the 2 main things that I report on, and then I'll look at everything to try and figure out where are the holes. Go ahead.
So I asked this question, and thank you for bringing it into the conversation. My way of looking at this is that an MQL, an SQL, an opportunity, an inquiry, those are like 5 inches, 10 inches, 20 inches, 30 inches. They're just points in a process. So they're not intrinsically wrong. It's how you define what they are that becomes kind of problematic. You have to make sure that you agree, what does an MQL mean in this company with your sales counterpart? Because it can mean many things in many organizations. It has many different meanings over time and so forth. So I accept that, let's say we want to throw out those old measures. And I'm trying to wonder about what can be a new measure to replace the habit almost of needing to have some kind of measure. And the one strength that the inquiry MQL, SQL, SAL has hello there, is it measures handoff points in a progress from one team to another. And so I'm wondering if there's any kind of parallel that, and you've suggested two measures here. So I'm not trying to say your measures are wrong, because obviously that's not the point. But what your measures aren't helping me understand quite yet.
What would you like?
Is how to measure the
Cheese?
progression from one working team to another working team.
Yogi?
Just gonna get that muted. Sorry about that. So the two measures, I think those are good, but like the other one that I do is just inbound sales requests. They call, they submit a demo form, contact us, drift. Like, I think that is the starting point for people. And then it would go to with your qualified pipeline or number of qualified ops and then close one. Cool.
So do you have any measures that kind of fall before they go to sales? I guess they'd be within their own in packages, right?
Yeah, I just look at the channel level from there, but that's those are to know whether or not the channel's working, not for anything else.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Appreciate it. G, let's wrap this one. What you got? I appreciate everyone stopping in, by the way. We still got 31 people on here. We had a baby on there for a while, which was interesting. What you got, G?
Yeah, I think we'll close out with, I'll just say this. I've realized that it's been a long time since I've taken a break from work.
Me too.
It's been a long time. And I'm not afraid to say it, but I need a break. I think I'm just tired of talking about growth metrics and marketing. Like, I love it. Don't get me wrong, but I just need a break. So I'm taking off Thursday and Friday, going to Vegas.
No way.
Yeah.
You can do that right now?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go do it just because
What are your thoughts on Vegas?
Here's my thing.
This should be fun.
Like, it's a lot of riffraff. You know, everything is fake. It's designed to suck your money. But the reason why I go sometimes is because my little brother lives there. He actually works at the MGM. So that's my excuse for going to Vegas. But I don't fall for, the gimmicks and all that kind of stuff. I do love the restaurants. That's like my favorite thing. I'm a foodie big time, so I love the food. But other than spending time with my bro, playing a little poker, I like poker. And then hitting the restaurants, hitting the dispensaries. I like to smoke up a little bit. Full disclosure, that's my main jam in Vegas. But other than that, I don't fall victim to the marketing scams and gimmicks. But I'm always fascinated with what they do. So I do actually watch that from like a learning perspective. I get all their emails, and I just die laughing at their emails because they're so gimmicky. But I just look at it more of just like I observe and try to learn from human behavior when I go there. It's always fascinating. What are your thoughts on it, Chris?
Vegas doesn't do it for me. I'm not a fan. If I never went back, it would be too soon, actually. I'm good with it.
I agree. It's not the most glorious place in the world.
They give you the facade of glory,
right.
And then you actually get there and you're like, wow, this is really trashy.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry for anyone that lives or likes Vegas. I didn't really mean that. I take it back.
Yeah. I mean, I much prefer like something tropical, like a Caribbean island or Hawaii. Like, that's my jam all the way. That's why I live in Miami, of course. But to close off on the final point is that I do need a break, not afraid to say it. So I'm going to be taking time off Thursday and Friday. And then I'm taking like 2 weeks off in July. It's my birthday. My birthday is always a big time of celebration.
Nice.
Yeah. Turning 32, getting up there. So
nice.
Yeah. So I'm taking 2 weeks off in July.
I actually had no idea how old you were until just now.
Yeah. And I don't really tell a lot of people, but fuck it, man. Why not? So yeah, turning 32. And I'm taking 2 weeks off in July just to clear my head. So I guess I'll close off on that point. I don't know, Chris, if you've got any vacation time planned or things like that, but I think it's important to pause sometimes and just kind of, clear your mind.
Yeah, for sure. I'm in terms of like taking a break, I'm more of a sprinter, I guess. Like take off Friday afternoon, go to the beach for like 3 hours and just kind of like chill out. But coming up in anyone in the New England area, it's supposed to be beautiful this weekend, and so I'll go to the beach both Saturday and Sunday. Probably it's supposed to be 80 mid to high 80s, which would be great. Coming back into next week, if you guys have follow-up questions, what I was thinking about is just like introducing a new layer on the Facebook side. So like maybe we'll go to like retargeting or blah 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 or something like that, so we can introduce that next week. And we got the most like pre-episode questions. Like I got a bunch by email and through LinkedIn, so I appreciate those. So keep sending those over. We love answering them, love having you here, love seeing the same people. It's been a blast, and I think that it's been really helped me like get through this tough time. It almost feels like we're sort of moving past this, which would be phenomenal. But like getting through it with all you was awesome. I really appreciate it.
Right on. I feel the same. It's been great getting to know all you guys. Some people, like you said, Chris, are here repeat every week. Matthew stands out. Christian, John, David, who else?
Marty's here
Lonnie.
quite a bit. Katie's here quite a bit.
Julian, Gary Arnold. I always see a lot of the same names.
Mhm.
Appreciate you guys coming back. Max, what's up, buddy, from the Salesforce team? So it's always good to see a lot of repeat people coming back. Elaine as well. Welcome back. So Dasha,
Yeah.
Eileen, so many of you. Thank you.
And I hope you enjoyed it. If you guys, I think what G and I should start doing more is doing like the tactical, like I love when you went through whatever it was, Ahrefs or SEMrush. I don't even remember what tool it was, but you were in there. I was in the Facebook ads. I think like getting a little bit more screen share. Just give me a little thumbs up if you guys think that would be helpful. Yeah, thumbs up all around. So we'll build that in to the plan, and hope you all have a great rest of your Tuesday night, and look forward to hopefully seeing you again next week.
Right on. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
You guys.
Peace out.